Welcome to a Culture Course production where we help you attract the top talent and create a company culture where your team can thrive. All right, man, I love that word, thrive. Don't you? Don't you want a thriving team? All right, so in this week's episode, we're going to talk about retention and the real reason why people actually leave their places of employment. There was an article written by Inc. magazine, and it talks about why people are quitting their job. And the number one reason why people said they're quitting their job, and we've talked about this thing a lot on the podcast, it's almost like a theme here, but they felt like they weren't doing things that mattered. They didn't have necessarily meaningful work, or they weren't connected to the purpose that their job was doing. They just felt like they were doing meaningless tasks. They're just showing up to work for what? Right? Well, here is also a piece of information, some data that Gallup put together that I wanted to read to you guys because I think this is just kind of staggering. But they collected data from more than 195,000 U.S. employees. And the Gallup Scientists asked employees to indicate the top reason they would consider leaving their firm for a different organization. What floated to the top can be summarized in one distinct sentence. Here it is. This is the reason why people leave companies. This is retention. Their work doesn't have meaning or purpose. This week's episode is brought to you by Culture Course, culturecourse.com. Stephen Vick has become a friend of mine and is a Culture Course student. He approached me saying, hey, I have a volleyball team, a group of senior girls that I want to really help move to the next level. So I suggested that he take Culture Course. It worked for him too. Yes, it's businesses, but he was able to do it on that team level as well. So he went through that course to determine, hey, how can I use this to help with these high school girls as a volleyball team? Any team, any people that you're trying to lead, culturecourse.com might be for you. It's an online course to help you create a thriving team. All right, so here's the rebuttal. You're going to say, Grant, no, my last employee who left, he didn't leave because he didn't have a purpose. He told me he left because the money wasn't good. There was somebody else that was paying more down the street, so he went there. Or she left me because she had the opportunity to make more money in a different place or a whole different field. That might be your rebuttal, and that might also be true. But here's the thing. If you had an employee who is willing to leave solely for money, it's probably good that they're gone, because that means they're pretty selfish, and they are likely maybe weren't the best fit for your culture, at least long term. But here's probably what really happened. It's hard to articulate, especially when you leave a place, that, hey, why did you leave? I didn't feel like my work was very meaningful. That's just not something someone's going to say. And the reason why they're not going to say that is because a lot of employees are unable to articulate it because you can't articulate to them the purpose that your business does. You have to be able to communicate and connect all the things that they're doing to purpose and to meaningful work. Otherwise, how can you expect them to articulate it back to you? Money may have been a part of the reason why they left, but it was the only thing that they could articulate because that's the only thing you were communicating to them because you weren't giving them a purpose. You were just giving them a paycheck. So that's all you were to them, was just a paycheck. So they left for a better one. Here's the call to action with that. How do we respond to all this? You need to create a purpose that unifies your team. You need to talk about the meaning that your work does. And a real great unified purpose is one that has and focuses on that word, unified. It brings your team together. A great unified purpose is going to be selfless and require some sacrifice. That is important. Be selfless and require some sacrifice. To genuinely make the world a better place, to make an awesome impact on people, sometimes sacrifice is required. And when sacrifice is required, that means that it is selfless. And that's different than money. Donald Miller talks about this, where he is talking about just trying to simplify things. If you guys haven't checked out StoryBrand, do so. Subscribe to their podcast. He even has this thing called Business Made Simple. You can go to businessmadesimple.com, and every day you get a video in under 5 minutes where he gives business advice. It's great. But Donald Miller, he says you want to kind of simplify this purpose, and the best way to do it, to come up with a purpose statement that might unify your team, is filling in this blank. We save people from blank. We save people from blank. This is your call to action. Fill in that blank. Because we save people from financial distress. We save people from whatever product or service you're providing. What are you helping people? We save people from fill in the blank is something that will help make the world a better place, help make work be impactful, and help your work have meaning. Then you're going to be different than all these other statistics that Gallup talked about and Magazine talked about as the number one reason why people leave their current place of employment. They want to go do work that matters. Make the work that you do matter. It's not as if your business, as if your product, as if your service doesn't matter. You just don't know how to articulate that it does matter. Get creative with that. And if you don't feel you are creative, your call to action is fill in that blank. We save people from what? We unifies your team. Saving people that has sacrifice, that has selflessness to it, that has impact to it, from what? Fill in that blank and have a great week.